The Irwin family drama has taken a new turn, with Bindi Irwin announcing that she is taking a break from public life.
Everyone faces challenges in life, but for Terri Irwin's son, those challenges took an unexpected turn early on. At just 2 years old, Robert Irwin lost his father, leaving Terri to raise him and his sister. Over the years, Robert grew into a strong and inspiring young man, but recent events have raised concerns about him. Terri Irwin was recently seen in tears over son's transformation, leaving many to wonder what caused such an emotional moment. Was it something heartbreaking or a big change in Robert's life? Join us as we reveal the truth behind Terri Irwin's tears for the son's tragic transformation. Terri Irwin's son transformation. Terri Irwin was reportedly in tears during a recent interview. She was seen reflecting on her son Robert's transformation after what many saw as a very tragic event. Robert was just 2 years old when his father, Steve Irwin, tragically passed away. The loss of his father left a deep mark on Robert, though he was too young to fully understand the weight of it at the time. Since then, Robert has grown up under the public's watchful eye, always living in the shadow of his famous father. However, Robert's transformation was not expected, and this has left his mother, Terri, with mixed emotions. While many have followed his career from a distance, not many are aware of the personal journey he's been on or the changes he's gone through. We know you're eager to hear about Robert's transformation, and we've got the full story for you. Terri Irwin shared everything her children had gone through since Steve's death. It had been so hard, especially for Robert, who was just 2 years old when he lost his father. He didn't understand the pain at the time, but as he grew it became clear that he shared his father's love for animals. She remembered how the sorrow of losing Steve weighed heavily on her family, but it was also clear that Robert and Bindi had inherited Steve's passion and commitment to wildlife conservation. They began growing into strong, dedicated people, determined to carry forward their father's work. Robert, even as a young child, had an obvious connection with animals. He had spent his childhood at the Australia Zoo, surrounded by creatures, and learning from his mother and the team there. Though he was young when his father passed, Robert seemed to naturally embrace the world of wildlife, just as Steve had. His love for animals was evident in everything he did. As he grew older, he began pursuing wildlife photography, a talent that quickly gained attention. His photographs of nature's beauty began to earn praise from around the world. It wasn't long before he was recognized for his talent, and in 2020, Robert won the prestigious Wildlife Photographer of the Year award. This achievement was a huge moment for him, and a powerful sign of how much he had grown. Terri couldn't help but feel proud of him, knowing that Steve would have been incredibly proud too. Aside from Robert, Bindi has also gone through a surprising transformation after the tragic death of their father. Her journey has been just as impressive, as she's followed in Steve's footsteps in many unexpected ways. Let's take a closer look at Bindi's life. At the same time, Terri also watched with amazement as Bindi, her only daughter, began to carry forward her father's legacy. Bindi, too, was deeply affected by Steve's passing, but instead of being held back by grief, she channeled it into action. At just 8 years old, she stood at her father's funeral and called him her hero. From that moment on, she worked tirelessly to continue his work. She starred in Bindi the Jungle Girl, a TV show that introduced young audiences to the world of wildlife conservation. The show became a hit, winning an Emmy, and Bindi became known for her energy and passion for educating kids about the importance of protecting animals and their environments. Terri could see how Bindi was beginning to follow in her father's footsteps, taking her place as a leader in wildlife conservation. As Robert and Bindi grew older, they became even more involved at the Australia Zoo. Terri had worked hard to keep the zoo running after Steve's death, But she wasn't alone. Both Robert and Bindi took on important roles, helping with the animals and supporting conservation efforts. It was clear to Terri that her children were not only honoring their father's memory, but were actively contributing to the future of wildlife conservation. She could see how much they had matured, taking on more responsibility and leading with a passion that reminded her so much of Steve. Bindi's commitment to conservation extended beyond the zoo. She was regularly involved in public speaking events, sharing her love for wildlife and encouraging others to protect it. Terri often watched Bindi speak to large crowds, sharing the lessons Steve had taught her. Bindi understood the importance of involving the next generation in wildlife conservation, and she used her platform to inspire young people around the world. Terri couldn't help but admire them. But that's not all. Robert also followed his father's path in many other ways. He became a popular figure on TV, appearing on shows like The Tonight Show, where he used the opportunity to educate audiences about wildlife. His knowledge and enthusiasm for conservation were contagious, and his appearance on these programs helped raise awareness about endangered species and environmental issues. Robert's love for animals made him an excellent spokesperson for the cause. Terri saw the same spark in him that had been in Steve, and she knew her son was making a real difference by sharing his message with the world. One of Robert's most exciting projects was his work with crocodiles. Like Steve, Robert had a deep fascination with these reptiles, and he began a research program aimed at finding ways for humans and crocodiles to live peacefully. This initiative showed Robert's commitment to preserving wildlife while also protecting human lives. His work focused on educating communities about crocodiles and helping to reduce human-animal conflict. Terri knew that Steve would have been happy by Robert's research, knowing it would make a real impact on the world. She always believed that the future of the environment is in the hands of young people, and she was grateful that Robert and Bindi were doing their part. Terri often reflected on how far her children had come. Their efforts to raise awareness about wildlife conservation, to protect endangered species, and to inspire young people were not just honoring Steve's legacy. They were creating a future where wildlife could be protected for generations to come. She had always worked hard to keep Steve's memory alive, but now she saw her children carrying on his mission with even more determination. They had taken the grief of losing their father and turned it into something powerful and positive, and it was clear that their work was making a real difference. Looking back, Terri realized that the journey she had shared with Robert and Bindi was not just about loss and pain. It was about transformation. They had all faced a tragedy that could have affected them, but instead, they had used it as a stepping stone to create something meaningful. Their achievements validated everything Terri had worked for since Steve's passing. She could see the impact they were making on the world, and it filled her with hope for the future. But then Robert and Bindi's success didn't happen overnight. Behind their achievements is a story of hard work and dedication. Many people think Terri helped Robert become successful through her own work. But what happened in Terri's life after Steve died? What challenges did she face, and how did she overcome them? Keep watching to know about Terri's amazing journey. Terri Irwin's legacy. After Steve Irwin's death, Terri Irwin often spoke of her life with Steve as a love story built on shared dreams and passion. She described him as her soulmate, someone who brought endless joy and purpose to her life. Their days were filled with adventure, working side by side to protect wildlife and create a safe haven for animals. Together they built not just a zoo, but a world where people could connect with nature in ways they never imagined. Their bond was unshakable, their love a powerful force driving their shared mission. But in 2006, everything changed. Steve's sudden death in a stingray accident turned Terri's world upside down. The man who had been her partner in every way was gone, and the pain was unimaginable. Yet, in the depths of her grief, Terri found a purpose that kept her going. She would continue the work they had started together. If Steve's life had been about protecting wildlife, she would make sure his mission lived on through her efforts. Taking charge of the Australia Zoo was a huge responsibility, but Terri took it on with determination. What had once been a small, family-run zoo transformed under her leadership into a global center for wildlife education and conservation. The zoo wasn't just a place for animals. It became a place for people to learn and connect with nature. Terri worked tirelessly to ensure that Steve's vision thrived, turning his dream into something even greater. The Wildlife Hospital became one of Terri's most significant projects. She expanded its reach, ensuring that injured and endangered animals had a place to heal. Over the years, the hospital treated tens of thousands of animals, each one a reminder of the work she and Steve had set out to do. For Terri, every animal saved was a small victory, a way to keep Steve's spirit alive through action and care. But Terri didn't stop there. She started new programs to protect endangered species to ensure that animals had safe spaces to live. These efforts required a lot of work and resources, but Terri pushed forward, knowing that every step brought her closer to the world she and Steve had envisioned. For her, these programs were about more than just saving animals. They were about creating a future where humans and wildlife could live in harmony. Running the zoo without Steve was not easy. Terri faced many challenges, but she never gave up. She saw every challenge as a way to honor Steve's memory and prove that his dream was worth fighting for. Even on the hardest days, she kept going, knowing that her work was making a difference. Beyond the zoo, Terri became a voice for wildlife conservation. She gave speeches, appeared in interviews, and shared her story with the world. People listened because her words came from a place of deep love. Terri also made sure her children, Bindi and Robert, stayed connected to their father's mission. She raised them with the same values she and Steve had shared. Both Bindi and Robert grew up to be passionate about wildlife, following in their father's footsteps. For Terri, seeing her children continue Steve's work was one of her greatest joys. Still, the journey wasn't without personal struggles. The weight of continuing Steve's mission alone often left Terri feeling overwhelmed. But instead of letting the pain stop her, Terri used it as motivation to keep going. Terri's work has been celebrated worldwide. She took the hardest moment of her life and turned it into a powerful mission to protect wildlife. Through her efforts, Terri ensured that Steve's dream didn't just survive, it grew, touching the lives of people. Along with her kids Robert and Bindi, is doing more than just keeping Steve's memory alive. They're making a big difference and inspiring others worldwide. Let's take a closer look at their amazing impacts. The family's global impact on conservation. The Irwin family's journey in wildlife conservation has been incredible. Over time, they turned the Australia Zoo into one of the world's best wildlife conservation centers. Under Terri's leadership, and with help from Robert and Bindi, the zoo grew into a place recognized globally for its commitment to animal care and wildlife preservation. The family's love for animals and dedication to conservation helped shape the zoo into a major center for educating the public about the importance of protecting wildlife. What began as a small family project turned into a world-renowned facility, making the Irwins famous in global conservation efforts. A major part of their success came with the opening of the Wildlife Hospital. The Irwin family set a new standard for how to care for injured and sick animals. This hospital became one of the most equipped wildlife hospitals in the world. They hired staff that are experts in animal health, and they work hard to help animals that are hurt by accidents or the environment. The hospital has become a model for others around the world, showing how important it is to have strong medical care for wildlife. The Irwin family's decision to create this hospital has saved countless lives, earning them even more respect in the conservation community. The Irwin family's work has not only focused on rescuing animals, but also on advocating for endangered species and environmental protection. They have used their fame to bring attention to the fact that many species are disappearing because of human actions and environmental problems. Through TV shows, social media, and public speeches, the Irwins have raised awareness about other threats to wildlife. They have made it clear that every person can help in the fight to protect animals and the environment, and they have inspired many to take action. Terri, Robert, and Bindi have traveled all over the world, speaking at international events to share their views on how to protect wildlife. These events have allowed the Irwin family to work with experts from different countries and learn from others who are also trying to solve environmental problems. At these events, they talk about the challenges animals face and discuss possible solutions. In addition to his family's advocacy work, Robert has used his photography skills to draw attention to the effects of climate change. His photos show the damage caused by climate change, like the deadly bushfires that affected large parts of Australia. Robert's photographs have been featured in many publications and have made people know just how serious the problem is. His photos capture the beauty of nature. Through his art, Robert has inspired many people to think more deeply about the environment. Bindi and Robert's appearances on TV and in documentaries have also helped raise awareness about wildlife conservation. But beyond this, the family has made other groundbreaking impacts. The zoo's breeding programs have also played a huge role in helping animals. The Irwins have worked hard to ensure that animals at risk of disappearing get a chance to live again. The zoo has been successful in breeding many species, including the endangered Queensland lungfish and the eastern grey kangaroo. These programs help ensure that there will be future generations of these animals, giving hope to species that are in danger. The breeding programs at the Australia Zoo are a key part of the family's conservation efforts and have shown how important it is to actively work to preserve wildlife. Their work in breeding endangered species has had a lasting effect on the world, helping to maintain biodiversity for future generations. The Irwin family has also worked closely with other conservationists and organizations to make a bigger impact. They have joined forces with environmental groups to protect forests, fight poaching, and stop illegal wildlife trade. The family understands that conservation is a group effort, and they have worked alongside other experts to make a difference. The Irwins collaborate with other conservationists to reach even more people and support larger projects that help animals worldwide. These partnerships have expanded their influence. The Irwin family has also used their fame to raise money for conservation efforts. Through events, donations, and selling merchandise, they have raised millions of dollars for wildlife conservation projects. This money has been used to support the zoo's breeding programs, rescue missions, and other important initiatives. The Irwin family has shown that public figures can use their influence to support causes they care about, and they have done so with integrity. The Irwins have been able to fund projects that are making a real difference in the world by raising funds for conservation. The Irwin family's passion for animals and the environment continues to motivate people around the world to protect the planet. Many believe that Steve laid a good foundation before his passing, and if he were alive, he would probably be doing even more. But have you ever wondered how Steve's wildlife journey began? Let's take a step back at the fascinating story of how it all started. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss the story. What many don't know about Stephen Robert Irwin. Steve Irwin's love for wildlife started early. He grew up in the Queensland Reptile and Fauna Park, a small zoo run by his parents, Bob and Lynn Irwin. The park was full of animals, snakes, kangaroos, and Steve's favorite, crocodiles. Bob and Lynn didn't just care for the animals, they taught Steve to respect them. From a young age, he learned that every creature played a role in nature. This lesson stayed with him forever. When Steve got older, his father showed him how to handle reptiles safely. While other kids might have been scared, Steve was excited. He watched and learned how to approach crocodiles, understand their behavior, and move them without harm. By the time he was a teenager, Steve was already helping his dad relocate crocodile to safe areas where they wouldn't be a danger to people or themselves. These early experiences shaped his future. In 1991, Steve met Terri Irwin, a young woman from America who loved animals as much as he did. She visited the park during a trip to Australia, and the two connected instantly. They got married that same year. Together, Steve and Terri dreamed of turning the small park into something much bigger, a place where they could teach the world about wildlife. Steve and Terri renamed the park the Australia Zoo. They worked hard to make it better. Steve started live crocodile shows, where he showed people how amazing and important these animals were. He would feed giant crocodiles by hand and explain how they helped keep nature balanced. People loved the shows, and the zoo became more popular. In 1996, Steve and Terri started a TV show called The Crocodile Hunter. The show followed Steve's adventures as he handled dangerous animals, rescued wildlife, and explored nature. His big personality and famous catchphrase, "Crikey," made him a global star. The show aired in more than 130 countries and inspired millions to care about wildlife. However, it wasn't just entertainment. Steve has got more goals. Steve didn't stop with TV. He and Terri started Wildlife Warriors Worldwide, an organization to protect animals and their habitats. They raised money for conservation projects, rescued injured animals, and educated people about how to help. Steve believed that everyone could do something to save nature, no matter how small. At the Australia Zoo, Steve kept improving the park. He added new animal exhibits and built a wildlife hospital to treat injured animals. The hospital saved koalas hit by cars, birds hurt by habitat loss, and many others. For Steve, the zoo wasn't just a place to visit. It was a center for learning and saving animals. Steve and Terri also raised two children, Bindi and Robert. Steve wanted his kids to share his love for nature and continue his work. He often said that teaching the next generation was the key to saving the planet. Sadly, Steve's life ended too soon. On September 4, 2006, while filming a documentary in the Great Barrier Reef, a stingray's barb struck him. The injury was fatal. His death shocked the world, and millions mourned the loss of a man who had brought wildlife into their lives. After Steve's passing, Terri, Bindi, and Robert continued his work. They expanded the Australia Zoo and kept running Wildlife Warriors. Bindi and Robert grew up to be wildlife experts, just like their dad. They appeared on TV, gave talks, and carried on Steve's mission to protect animals and teach people about conservation. Today, Steve Irwin's legacy is as strong as ever. His TV shows, zoo, and conservation efforts changed how people saw animals. Even though he is gone, his dream of a world where humans and animals live in harmony lives on through his family, his zoo, and the millions of people he inspired. Steve Irwin will always be remembered as a hero for wildlife and a voice for nature. What do you think about Terri Irwin's children, especially Robert? Do you love what they are doing? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.